Okay, right now we talk about the Mandela Effect and link it to the ancient religious beliefs and my belief that those religions had nothing to do with faith. They were based on science and observation, yeah, not faith. They, in fact, ancient religions were all scientific based. They were just, the only problem is that we didn't have the technology to express ourselves the way we do today. But the concepts uh, represented in those religions are scientifically based. The Mandela Effect is the first proof of that. Well, let me get myself a beer. Um, so what I'm saying, yeah, the reason why the Mandela Effect proves that these ancient religions, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Sumerian, um, Egyptian, which is one of my favorites, Hindu, which is still there today, yeah, were not based on um, faith in a deity, but they were based on the scientific definitions um, uh, and observable data um, that their brains could cope with at the time. Now, remember, ancient people were much more cleverer than us because they had more needs than what we do today. I mean, even scientists have deduced that ancients were much, much more intelligent than the people of today because people of today have become relaxed. We don't really need much, you know. If you look at your typical um, human being that lives up uh, in the West, if you like, yeah, they they don't need much. They don't even have to hunt food anymore. Yeah, they don't have to um, worry about survival the way the ancients did. Yeah, and since people say necessity is the mother of invention, we've lost that capacity to see those truths. Now, the Mandela effect is an effect that actually proves the scientific aspects of ancient religion. You notice I said scientific aspects, as in I don't believe in those religions. If belief um, is connected to faith, yeah, or faith is one of the connotations um, of belief, yeah, then I don't believe in those religions. But I do believe, yeah, scientifically, that those religions, I do believe that those religions were accurate scientifically, yeah. Now look at the Mandela effect, yeah, where you have a large group of people who believe something to be true, uh, then you have another large group of people, yeah, who don't know it that way, yeah. So if this effect was to be described by the ancients, how do you think they'll put it? Hmm? How do you think that? Just imagine you're living 3,000 years ago, in 4,000 years ago. No, in fact, even it's older than that. 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, and you notice that there's a large group of people, yeah, who believe in something, and then there's another large group of people who believe that it's something that's completely different. Yeah. Now, one of my favorite ancient religions um, constructs is the religions practiced by the ancient Egyptians before the Greeks conquered them. I mean, we're talking about When you look at ancient Egypt, yeah, to scale, yeah, we're talking about the end of the Ice Age 10,000 years ago and the Great Flood. You know, the Ice Age ended with a very, very massive flood. Yeah. Now, during that Ice Age, people started to migrate south from Europe. They started to go south into the Mediterranean, and the Mediterranean people were pushed into Egypt. Yeah. Um, Now, these events happen like from 10,000 years ago up to the formation of the great ancient Egyptian empire. Now, as the people from Europe started going in back to the south, they brought the knowledge they had accumulated here down there. Yeah. And they also realized the knowledge that had been accumulated down there during the time when they had been up here. So they went down to the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean people were pushed down into Egypt, and the original Egyptians were pushed down further into Africa. Yeah, and this is the Ice Age that caused that. Now, when they return, yeah, happened, they found ancient Egyptians living in just simple chiefdoms, yeah, which is probably a few buildings, yeah, and these were simple African folk, yeah, that would wear their simple um, loincloth and togas and spears, yeah, and carry cut staffs and and will bury um, in the ancient African way of basically you remove the earth, you put the body in there, and when you put the body in there, um, well, all of the earth that was removed is not going to fit. When you try to fit it, it's going to form a mound, a pyramid. So they found all these little pyramids there, but it was just for burial because that's how we buried people in Africa. Yeah, you just put a body in there, you put all the earth back on there, and it forms a mound. So it's a pyramid. Yeah. So the first pyramids were not in Egypt, were in Sudan somewhere, in Nubia. So as this influx of people came in, um, because of the Ice Age, um, they found these traditions, but they never understood what that was about. Yeah. So, but I won't go into too much how the ancient Egyptians became a great power. But basically, that influx of people from outside of Egypt is what turned simple country folk into a great nation. They took their concepts and they elaborated on them. Yeah, you take a simple pyramid and say, right, now I'm going to build myself the biggest pyramid so that everybody remembers me in death. You try to become bigger than everyone else. Everybody had a pyramid, yeah, but you try to become bigger than everybody else, and you brought that greed, and then they started to build massive projects, and projects, as we know today, massive projects are the way that the economy runs, isn't it? Somebody wins a contract to build a massive building. That's that kind of like um, rejuvenates the economical aspects of society. Yeah. So every time a new project that involves something big to be constructed um, is defined and put into action, uh, the economy rejuvenates itself. So it became a way of kind of like enriching themselves and so basically even the gods they had became um, commercially viable to them. Yeah. So, but they took simple African beliefs about God, which were based on science. Yeah. Now, you look at the Mandela Effect, and you say, as an ancient African, you'd be like, what would you won't ask it? I suppose there are people today who would ask it like the ancients would. You ask yourself, with what you've got, yeah. Remember, there's no technology. What on earth could be causing a large majority of people to believe in one thing and another large majority of people to believe it different. Yeah? You look at it from a neutral point of view. Yeah? You ask that question. Yeah? Then you start to describe what I think they were describing was the collective consciousness. Yeah? Where there are individuals who are born, who are naturally born naturally, and their consciousness uh, plays a pivotal role in the collective. The way the collective manages itself, it necessitates certain consciousness to be a certain way. Now, this creates class in the collective, or levels within the collective, where somebody has a consciousness that has a role to play. Yeah, right? So when you're an ancient, you're asking yourself this question. You start looking for people who um whose actions, yeah, affect the majority. Yeah, where, like, for example, if you look at birds that fly in flocks, yeah, they form that kind of triangle with one bird at the apex, and I think some of them switch them. So how do they know which bird to choose to lead them? It happens naturally. Yeah, one bird starts to get an idea and they all follow. Then another one gets an idea and they follow that. So they just, one of them catches the magnetic field and that becomes the one that leads them. Then another one catches it and that becomes the one that leads them. So being led not by the individual, but by the one who has who has that magnetic effect that they need to follow. Yeah. So it's not about the individual as such, it's about what their consciousness has caught. Yeah. So it goes into astrology as well. But basically, when you're born, your consciousness um, has a role to play in the collective. Yeah. There are people out there that once they think something, the rest of us think it. So there are people who generate thought in the collective. Their role in the collective is to generate thought. Yeah. Then there are people who, once they think this way, these animals start to behave that way. Yeah. So those are people who uh, have an affinity with those animals. Yeah. So they get, in the ancient world, they get affiliated with those animals. So then an ancient human being will start to say, right, okay, there's this man, yeah, that once he ejaculates, yeah, it looks like a rejuvenation, a new universe is created. And that one we'll call him Atom. Yeah. The ancient Egyptians had a god called Atom. Yeah. There's this man that once he thinks this way, yeah, we start to see the dead. So so that becomes Anubis. And they were honest enough to say, right, there are these human beings who do that. There would have been human beings within society that we don't choose. It's a bit like the choosing of the Dalai Lama. You don't choose him. Yeah, you look until you find him. So that's what the ancients were doing. The way the Lama is chosen is an ancient practice. That's all they were doing. They don't choose who becomes their leader in a democratic process. It's something that nature does for them. Nowadays, we like to think that we choose our gods, yeah, but we don't. The greatest illusion that mankind has ever bestowed upon himself is to believe that he has a choice when it comes to God. You don't have a choice in the matter, man. It's made for you. So the way they choose the Lama is very, very accurate scientifically. Very, very accurate. Yeah. You find stuff that the Lama has that favors, and you keep those. And then you go around the whole kingdom and you look for somebody who, well, that's how you know um, that it's the same person, because he will know his stuff, right? So, in the same way, the ancients found these people and they elevated them to God status. They found a man out there, and I think the first man to ever be found doing that was a man called Atom. Yeah, they found a man out there that whenever he ejaculated, they experienced a newness, yeah, a new consciousness, or maybe it might be a Mandela effect, yeah, where a new world is created every time he ejaculates. And they found this man. I said, right, you're a god, yeah, and you're the god that does that. Then they might have found one that done all the other things. That there might have been a woman out there that whenever she thinks a certain way, the sky starts to behave different. So she became god of the sky. Right? So they found these people, and it's the collective consciousness that necessitated these beings, necessitated these individual consciousness to be that way. The collective consciousness appears to have individual units within it that have a responsibility, yeah, um, with respect to nature. So the collective consciousness is a structure in nature that interacts with nature, and the way it interacts with nature, it necessitates certain units to have a role to play with every aspect of nature. Yeah, where you're born there and you don't know it, but your role is to manage the relationship between the collective and the dog collective or the animal collective. And you don't know it, but everything you do affects the way they reason, affects the way animals reason. And then you're born, and your role is to manage the relationship that the collective has with the sky. Yeah, you don't know it, but every time you think, the sky starts to do different things. So we don't know who these people are at this present moment in time, because we like to think that we choose our destiny, but we don't. The collective chooses for us. The collective consciousness, not the collective as in the collective will. Yeah, no, it's the collective consciousness viewed as a structure. Yeah, it determines it, right? When you have 7 billion units within the structure, it's gonna assign some of them certain duties. It will naturally assign some of them certain duties. It can be said to be assigning them, but it just happens. It's a natural process. So there is a being out there somewhere that's responsible for the Mandela effect. We just, because the way we think about choosing people involves us saying, right, we're gonna choose this president, we're gonna choose that president. You don't choose who leads you. Just like birds don't choose who to follow when they're flocking about, migrating. Yeah, we don't choose who leads us naturally. We choose who we want to lead us, but we don't choose who leads us naturally. Yeah, our natural leaders, yeah, I got cut off there. Yeah, so our gods are chosen for us. Yeah, and your responsibility within the collective consciousness is chosen for you. I suspect that your responsibilities within the collective consciousness changes from time to time. You might be standing there and you are part of that, part of the collective consciousness. You are that part of the collective consciousness that resonates with the sky, or with the water in the universe, or with the energy in the universe. So you 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 have different roles depending on what the collective consciousness needs at the time and what is available at the time when it needs it. So the collective consciousness sometimes has units that are resonating with the sea. Some of them are resonating with the sky. Some of them are resonating with space. Some of them are resonating with other energy forms, other mass forms. Yeah, so it attributes all the units within it to different tasks. Yeah, and that's what the collective consciousness looks like. Something that has these units attributed to that, that unit's attributed to that, that unit attributed to that. It's a structure, and we all have a role to play in that, but we don't choose that role. It's the structure itself chooses those roles for us. Those are um, uh, our collect our responsibilities within the collective. Yeah, they're not man-made. It's something that God does. Yeah, because the collective is in a barycenter with the rest of the universe. Yeah, if that makes sense. Is moving around the barycenter with the rest of the universe. If that makes sense. So as the universe changes, the changes within the universe affect the changes within the collective consciousness, and in turn affects what unit it assigns to what. Yeah, so nature affects it and it affects nature as well. Yeah, so the collective consciousness is something that attributes responsibility to every individual consciousness within it. And these responsibilities change with time. So at one time, I might find myself being somebody that once I think, it resonates into the collectiveness of cats. Then at another time, I find myself that once I think, it resonates into the collective consciousness of birds. And they say, okay, sometimes I say, once I think, it resonates into the collective consciousness of uh, flies or locusts. Or and they have been people like that in history, and that's why ancient religion uh, came up with those deities. But to call them gods is cameras are annoying. Anyway, so I was saying, to call those people gods, yeah, is stretching it a bit, right? Now let's look at what's happening now. The reason why I say it's very dangerous to call them gods, you could revere people with special responsibilities as gods, yeah, but to me God is something that influences everything. Now let's say there is there's a consciousness within the collective that's concerned with creating. We'll call that one like the atom. Yeah, uh, uh, like the ancient Greek god called Atom. Yeah. Now, um, obviously, if an alien came or something that started looking at the human collective and it's got an alien collective, yeah, like I don't know if you watch Star Trek and you see the Borg, and you ask each individual within that collective, who are you? I say we are Borg. Right. Um, so let's say you got an alien um, collective conscious, if you like. We'll look at the human collective, and we might uh, we might be attacked, yeah, on a collective level. Now, I already believe that there are entities out there, whether terrestrial or extraterrestrial. There are entities out there that are already doing these experiments. We've seen animals and birds dropping dead in thousands. Yeah, where you see 1,000 blackbirds dead. You see 1,000 reindeer just dead. Yeah, fish just bellying up and landing on the beach. Yeah, beaching themselves, just dead from nowhere. Yeah. So, like I told you, like when you have a migrating animal that flocks, like birds, once you take, they're doing experiments where I think they just take out the apex in such a way that it kills off all the other flock. So you target that individual that is prominent within the collective, yeah, and what you do to him resonates into the whole of the collective. So maybe they're experimenting with doing that, seeing a migrating birds, targeting the apex with an energy, bam, taking it out, and the rest of them drop dead. I think those are just experiments. Why you see things dying like that? Those are experiments that are happening at that level. So the reason we're experiencing the Mandela effect is because one of the prominent consciousnesses within the collective consciousness is under attack somehow, and I don't know how. I'm just coming up with this concept. It appears as if he or she is experiencing something that is resonating into the rest of our uh, consciousness. Yeah, and that's what we are seeing as the Mandela effect. Yeah, the the consciousness that is concerned with reality, yeah, is experiencing something that's causing the Mandela effect. It's a bit like when so he or she must be seeing two realities, or and must be understanding two realities, and that's causing us, the rest of us, to split one way or another. Something, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but they are prominent. They are consciousnesses which have prominent roles to play within the collective, that will live among each other. Um, they live among us as well. Um, so they experience things, but we don't know who they are because we don't believe in those things anymore. Yeah, and so it's just a matter of chance. Somebody might, they don't even know who they are. Yeah, and the Mandela Effect community is a special community where we are those individuals who are concerned with realizing that reality is splitting this way. Yeah, so we kind of like, we are seeing a super collective forming here, a a set of consciousness that know that there's two realities. Yeah, where most of them only know of one, but we're starting to know of two. Um, anyway, let me end this. Stupid camera's annoying me anyway. But just have a think about the Mandela effect. If it was realized by the ancients, that would explain why they came up with gods that have different roles. And those gods are just human beings, just like the apex of a flock of migrating birds. They're just human beings that the collective is using in different ways, in the ways described by the ancients, in the roles of the deities, of their deities. That's it.